Big build-up for Kevin Killer Kaminski, the head coach and GM of the Ronge Ice Wolves, the pride of Churchbridge, Saskatchewan. Feared NHL fighter. Killer, would I be right in saying that?
I don't know about that, but...
but you were.
We give it a go anyway.
You try, yeah. Welcome to town for the showcase.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Could you tell our viewers what exactly the showcase is?
Well, there's... obviously the best players from the MJ and the best players from the SJ, and obviously there's a lot of kids that got left out just because there's only so many room on each team. So there's 2 19 and 20-year-old teams to show off their skills and thrills and all that stuff, and then there's a younger group, 17 and 18, and then all the scouts from. Well, I know Alfie Michaud, my buddy. From Maine, Black Bears will be here, and a bunch of other colleges that'll be here to scout these kids out, and hopefully they'll keep on watching them and get scholarships at the end of the year. Colleges and NHL scouts, because I remember last year at this, the NHL scouts that were there were saying this is one-stop shopping. We can come see all the best kids in 2 days in one tournament in Regina. Now, obviously, Killer has traveled a long hockey road to get to Ronge. And I got to tell, we had a lot of stories to get to, and Kelly, you're going to jump in here at any time. Joe Lazito in New York wrote me this morning. He's jumping up and down that you're going to be on. He said the best steak he ever had in his life was in Orlando with you at your house. So see how worlds are connecting? Joe Lazito watches this show every day from Long Island. How the hell did that happen, Killer? How does that happen? Joe's a big hockey fan, and he's, you just see his collection of hockey fighters, jerseys and gloves and sticks and all that stuff. And so every time we would go in to play the Islanders, I would always meet him for coffee and sign stuff, and he would give fighting tapes back to me and all this. And when we've kept a good relationship, and then I don't know if you must have heard his book. Oh, yeah. On the subway. This is the guy that took down a mass murder on the New York subway. The NYPD tried to take credit for it, but it was actually Joe that restrained the guy. Yeah. Ended up suing the city of New York and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Yeah. Documentaries, books. Yeah. Yeah, it's not a wimp.
Apparently not. No wonder he likes the enforcers.
Yeah. No, he's quite the character, that's for sure. He's just a super guy.
So, hello to Joe watching this morning because he's so pumped. He also hosts a podcast on Islanders fighters. He said Mick Vakota's on his latest, who is an SJHL alum from the North Battleford North Stars. So, again, how everything's all connected. But I'll say this, Killer and I just got to know each other really over Instagram over the last couple of years. But you're in Fresno coaching the Monsters. And I'd heard, and I can tell you now, it was Luby that told me at a Blades playoff game last year that you were coming to coach Ronge. He wanted to know where I found out. Yeah. I said, can't remember, Killer, I can't remember. But I said, if you're going from Fresno to Ronge, God bless you. Not many would. But I'm talking about the locale, not the hockey. And you went for the hockey, and it's been, from just watching from the outside, Killer, it looks like better than you could have even imagined.
Yeah, it's been quite the year, a very productive year. Obviously the Ronge hasn't had much success in the last 7-8 years, and you know what? I gotta commemorate my scouting staff, Rob Fiola, right from my hometown in Churchbridge, and his staff that he's put together for bringing in these players, and also just the work that me and Galen Pedersen have done here, and we're the guys have bought in. Like I said, there's not much to do up in Ronge besides a little snowmobiling and some ice fishing. So we try and make it fun, and we do some different things, and again, just to come to the rink to enjoy each other, and again, just about buying in, being on that same page, and finding those ways to win, just changing the culture completely. At the start, we were finding ways to lose, but eventually that got better and better, and now we're finding ways to win, and hopefully it keeps continuing here down our last 15 games and for playoffs.
Kelly, you jump in anytime.
How different, so I always find when I ask former players that would have played back when I was a kid, in the 80s and that, and I tend to be amazed that sometimes I get different answers to these questions. It's not as predictable as you might think. So I'll ask you. So you're you could play, but you were also a tough guy, as were many of the players on the Blades. And there was a certain sort of culture back then that just, let's be honest, doesn't exist anymore. But you're an ultra competitive guy. And sometimes I imagine when the juices get flowing in a game and there's stuff's happening on the ice, your instincts are to perhaps handle it a certain way, but you know that that's not going to fly nowadays. How hard is it sometimes to pull yourself back and draw a line in the sand and say, well, I know how I would have handled this situation 30 years ago, but I also know I can't do that now. Is that tough?
It is kind of tough, and I've, you know what, I've told, you know what, I feel we got probably one of the toughest teams in the league, and a lot of teams don't want to fight us, that's just today's game, right? And it's a chirp contest, that's what it is, and but as a coach, you have to adapt to today's game. You know, I think, you know, back in the day, it's just you do what you got to do, right? And if you didn't do it, well, you had 5 or 6 other guys in line to do it, you know. But today it's just like, you know, again, it's about, it's more mind games than anything. It's about, you know, I always tell my guys, let's initiate, dictate, don't retaliate. So let's get in, play between the whistles, get that little extra shove, and then get out. You know, let them, you know, because that's...
Is it working?
Well, but our guys want to stay in and you know...
It's hard to pull them back.
It is.
Yeah.
And you know what, and for myself too, I'm, you know, you just said ultra competitive. I mean, I'm still, you know, my mouth can get me in trouble, you know, as it has. And when I was a player and as a coach, and I'm trying to curb that a little bit but I want to stick up for my players. I mean, but like I said, I've got and I feel I've done a better job, but I feel like a little bit more room to do even more so of a better job, you know, just to stay a little bit more composed and the refs make the calls, and it is what it is, right?
Yeah.
One of the great things about this show, of course, is the interactive nature. Greg's watching. Bucky Buchanan and Lloyd Minster. Favorite Junior A moment or moments? Watching a 15-year-old Wade Redden play in Lloyd Minster with former WHL enforcer Kent Staniforth. Donna Berger says favorite memories watching Selmar and Lyle Odelin play. Grew up with them. Plus Wendell Clark down from Quill Lake, who... I don't think ever played Junior A. Wendell. Where is Wendell? We got Wendell here.
Wendell right there.
This is turning into the Blades desk up here.
One of my idols right there.
Yeah, Wendell. Yeah, and teammates.
Whoever would have thought back then that Lyle Odelin would have turned into an NHL good player
Out of the family?
And Selmar,
wouldn't.
Granted, he was hurt. But from what I remember, Selmar was just absolutely
smooth,
unbelievable. And Lyle, well... Talk about late bloomers. Lyle ended up being a hell of an NHL player.
Yeah. And I think Lyle had that toughness, you know, which you needed back then, you know, more so than Selmer, but, you know, both very good players.
Both very good.
Yes.
Imagine combining Lyle's heart and Selmar's skills. Holy smokes. Wow. You'd have an NHL All-Star, but that's the way that it goes. Can you put the comment up from Joe Lazito? They're pound for pound, the baddest dude to ever lace him up. One of the nicest humans on the planet, too. Love you, Killer. What are your dimensions, Killer? What are you,
5'9"?
5'9"?
Yeah, and I played about 190.
It's not that big. So what was your secret to surviving? And
I think it was a little bit up here, the mentality that I had, that I loved the challenge I mean, everyone who I fought was always bigger, no matter what, right? So I just, I don't know why I love that challenge. Well, you know, go inside Aaron Hernandez's brain. I mean, put 2 blades on, I become a different breed, and you know, I don't care how big you are. You know, I'm gonna
try
kick your ass, and that's it. You know, and if I don't, then I'm gonna come back out of the penalty box and
try again.
You know, I'm gonna get the last punch in no matter what.
Was there ever a guy that said, "I'm not fighting you. I got nothing to win here"?
Well, there was you know, there's a few guys. You know, I tried fighting Worrell.
Peter Worrell.
Yeah, in Calgary. He didn't want, you know. But again, when you're that big, and then if you're going to lose to a 5'9" guy, then
it's lose for him.
Right? Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, and maybe it was just the way the game was going too. I mean, maybe he didn't need to fight, but yeah, I mean, it was. I wish I would have. Like I said, I love that part of the game, but I wish I would have. The way my body feels now, I wish I would have played a little bit more of the skill game too, because I mean, I know
you could do that.
I could put up a lot of points, and I had a point a game, and the age or the American Hockey League, and good numbers in junior and all that stuff. So, but like I said, the other side, I got sidetracked a little too easy, but I enjoyed that part.
Your nickname wouldn't have been Killer.
There you go.
What would it have been?
I have a very funny, I think, story. I don't even know if you've ever heard this story. It's hard to say whether this would have filtered back to you or not. But
boy.
Rick Dirksen was holding court one time, and I asked Rick about some crazy, disciplinary moments or whatever in his career, and he said, "Well," and your name came up. So after the Mark Jansen's cross-check, right, ugly incident, I think you'd have to admit that. You get flown into Calgary to have your hearings with Darryl Lubinicki and Marcel Como and yourself, and before you were allowed in the room, Rick Dirksen said he's talking to the two, like the coach and the general manager, about how we're going to proceed with this, and this guy's a repeat offender and this and that. And they bring you into the room. And
this better be true.
No, it's absolutely true. You'll know. Marcel Como and Luby says, "Sit down, Killer. Have a seat here." And Rick Dirksen's kind of rubbing his forehead like this. And throughout the process of the disciplinary, and what happened, Kevin? What did you see it? They kept on referring you as Killer all the time throughout this whole meeting. So then, after the whole proceedings was over and you left the room, Rick Dirksen said he's scratching his head. He says, "I'm just going to throw out an idea here, guys, and then just my observation. But there's a possibility that we might be able to reach this young man a little bit easier if you guys weren't constantly calling him Killer."
Well, Bill Chow stood in that hallway right there this summer. Same thing. He goes, "Can you stop calling him Killer?" I'm like, he calls himself Killer.
That's his nickname.
It's a clothing brand. There's something about people like you, Killer, and I'd like to throw myself in that category. We're a little hard to handle. Is that fair?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, just like Joe said, off the ice, I'm going to do anything for any kid or any charity I can help out with. But I don't know. It's part of you. It's in you.
Yeah, you don't take that out of a guy, right?
And my coaching. I'm the same way. I'm intense. I love to win, and that's what I'm trying to install into these young guys, and they've got that now. I think the only thing with my team is we need a little more consistency, to keep winning, here and there. But we've done a very good job. I mean, the people are excited in the Ronge. I mean, every time, I don't do much in the Ronge, but if I go to the co-op and get groceries, I mean, the meat cutters are coming out and talking hockey, and
Well, I'll say this: I showed up at your spring camp in Saskatoon. The minute I walked into that rink, it was a big deal that the Ice Wolves were there. You know what I mean? And you got a great staff, and you've restored very fast the pride in the franchise, and good for you. But it's year one, Killer. Like, you got not a long ways to go, but you're settling in, right? I get your expectations are here, but the way it's going is pretty exciting.
Yeah.
We'll take a break. We'll be right back. Bill Chow coming in as well, the president of the SJHL. Kim Davis, the president of the MJHL, and some reps from SaskTel. We're talking hockey this morning on The Rod Pedersen Show on Facebook Live, and listen live at rodpedersen.com.
You're watching Rod Pedersen On Demand. For more of The Rod Pedersen Show, visit rodpedersen.com or follow Rod Pedersen on social media.